as well. And I hope you are able to clearly hear me, see me. So if you are able to hear me, just raise your hands. You see a raise your hands option. So you can raise your hands if you're able to see me. Okay. And also hear me. Yes, so I'm getting some responses. So yeah, all good. So let's move on. This was just a quick hello, mic testing kind of a check. Yes, let me start by introducing myself. My name is Kruti Kukdolkar, and I have 11 years of experience in the automotive domain. And currently, I'm a Boschler working in in-vehicle infotainment domain for Renault and Nissan customers. So that's a short introduction about me. And we have many things in store for you today, so just hold on. And before we start the session, let's do a quick icebreaker. So I know it's a Friday and we all are in entertainment mood and weekend mode. So what is that one thing that is keeping you entertained these days? So it could be anything. It could be some TV show, some sport. So what is that you're watching, or what is that is keeping you entertained these days? Use the chat box. In the interest of time, I am not using the Mentimeter. Let's use the chat box and let me see what is keeping you entertained today. Okay, RCB, all right. Yeah, any other thing that is keeping you entertained? IPL, okay, okay. Netflix, this event, wow, okay. Playing with my kids, right? Okay. SA India, IPL. Okay, we are getting a lot of options, but I think the audience also reads my mind because IPL is something on my mind as well. If you remember the ad, how IPL started, uh, do you remember? It goes something like, "आ गया है मनोरंजन का बाप," right? "आ गया है मनोरंजन का बाप." So I can relate that to today's event and say, आ गया है मनोरंजन के लिए टेक्नोलॉजी का बाप, because we have a lot of technology things happening in today's event. And yes, you're going to be entertained today in the most interesting technological way. I know for most of you it is the first time, and the thoughts you may be having would be like, पहला पहला session है, पहली पहली बार है. Pardon my singing skills, but do not worry, we are on the same boat. It's the first session for me as well. So, yeah, that's okay. We will learn more. And this session is brought to you by SAE India exclusively for Bosch. Yes, SAE India, which is Society of Automotive Engineers, is India's leading mobility solution resource. And yeah, you can also now become a member of SAE. Okay, wait. I have given a lot of information now, and there are a lot of questions popping in your mind. I know that. So just hold on. Grab your cup of chai, coffee, water bottles by your side. I have mine ready because in the next couple of hours, we have a lot of things in store. Okay, so let's begin our session. So to begin with, I would like to invite Mr. Damodaran, who is the chairman of SAE India. So over to you, Damodaran, and yeah, just introduce us about you, about SAE India, and what do you have for us today?
Thank you, Kruti. It's a wonderful, like an enlightening beginning of this morning. Again, we are learning first of its kind. Thank you for setting the lead. Uh, it's a best way to start the day. We learned a lot in the last few minutes. Okay, it's my privilege to introduce ASA India, especially the Bangalore section. We are not far from the location where you are located. Our focus is how we can help Bosch as a group from ASA India. There's a lot of things in the store for you. I don't know whether my screens are, you see a dual screen or a single one.
We are seeing a dual screen.
Screen.
Okay, hope it is better now. As you
Yes,
rightly
yes.
started the day, this session is an exclusive session for Bosch and the family of Bosch companies. So a little bit of a background about this. Vijay is our anchor or ambassador into the Bosch world. And we sat some time before to make sure that we address the right topic in the right time. Thanks, Vijay, and the entire management of Bosch, including Dr. Shinai and Jacob and Vadiraj. So it's my honor and privilege. A little bit of a self-introduction about myself. There's a lot of things on this page. But I want to tell you, I'm an automotive guy from the college days to until now. I want to keep myself completely occupied with the mobility business. I spent around 30 years in various positions in working in automotive companies. That's what I was telling in the beginning. I was very early associated with those days Michael Bosch when I was working in Ashok Leyland. That's where I started my career. Then I moved to passenger car engineering services. I was so fortunate to be one of the first few who can bring engineering services to India for a Detroit-based company, working for Ford and General Motors and other Japanese and French companies. Later, I spent around 16 years in the aerospace business, Safran, uh, heading the engineering operations in India. So I held various positions, but the passion keeps us in common is engineering, technology, and innovation. SAE was the right platform, motivated me and attracted me to be part of this. It's very interesting. It's neutral and not-to-profit organization. Uh, the passion is always delivering. Giving is the biggest thing. What we know, what we learn, we want to share with the engineering community. Our focus today, we have an able and experienced team in our section in Bangalore. I just put on the left the pictures and names of the management committee members with only one goal and focus. We want to give some kind of a knowledge dissemination, what you saw in your the earlier introductory video. Again, we are focused and segmented. The first part is professional skill upgradation. We all know that we are in an era wherein there's a lot of uncertainty. The only way to keep ourselves above the the reference line is upgradation, be the best, go into some newer areas. Of course, we are, as you put in the icebreaker, the digital technologies, makes a lot of disruption in the world today, especially during this last 2 years. Last but not the least, our focus is also how to bring a better future, how to handhold and deliver what the industry needs today and tomorrow to the engineering students. That is our goal. And the entire team, they are all coming from different companies, different organizations, from the mobility, from the system, tier one, aerospace, innovation, entrepreneurship, covering two-wheeler to four-wheeler to heavy trucks. That's the composition we have in Bangalore. We are going to learn a lot from the Bose community, and we want to share and deliver what we know. In a nutshell, our support is not in a one line. We want to cover the entire gamut of an engineer's life cycle, right from the student when we enter into college. Even we have some programs we touch very early in their high schools. From then, we want to make sure that they are associated with us till they retire. Even some of our members support after retirement as well. So that is a short introduction about AC India and what we do in Bangalore section. This is only a tip of the iceberg. My colleagues are going to provide much more insight, so deep into the technological areas. With that short introduction, I have a privilege and I'm very happy to launch this exclusive tech day for Bosch community. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So that was a really lot of insight or an overview you have already given. And thank you very much for that. And that's a nice thought. And SA India is doing their best to contribute to engineering, mobility, and many more things. Before we get into the details of each and everything, today we have not one, not two, but three special chief guests with us today. And I would now like to call upon screen Mr. R.K. Shenoy, who is the member of Executive Leadership Team, and he's also the Senior Vice President of Mobility Solutions. So over to you, R.K. Shenoy. So the screen is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Kruti. Good morning. I hope you are able to hear.
You are audible. Yes.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be on this platform, and thanks, Damodaran, for that insights into SIA activities and what the opportunities are. It is clear that we have been associated with SIE since quite some time, but I think there is a lot of opportunities to do many more things going forward. With mobility, like already mentioned, is changing at a rapid pace, and with pace, which is the trend, which is personalized, automated, connected, and electrified. The opportunities to collaborate between tier ones like Bosch, OEMs, engineering service providers is huge, especially if we all engineers in mobility are able to work together. I'm sure we can, innovate quite a lot for India market in specific, as well as across the globe. And that's exactly what we have been doing the last couple of years. At least my association with SIE started deeply when as part of the ITEC, which was first electrification conference that happened in 2015, when we're just thinking about how electrified can change the face of India in terms of bringing these technologies. And I'm glad today that we are talking about enhancing this collaboration. And with this tech day, I'm sure we'll have a possibility to understand what all else is possible. Of course, I think many more from Bosch were involved, whether it is the functional safety conference where Padmaja and team were involved. It was also clear that, COE heads like Rani, with the context of functional safety, and many other COE leads have been connected with the SA to bring the new topics into life. And I'm looking forward one side how we can collaborate across the on the business side with other OEMs and tier one in developing new technologies, and other side with academia, and that is where we are talking about how we can jointly amplify the buildup of knowledge and talent as well as solutions for the market. Thanks again for giving this opportunity, and wish you all the best, and looking forward to this event today and many more such events going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Shenoy.
Thank you, Shenoy. Very well said. Yeah, collaboration is something that we are looking for with various OEMs. Very well said. So moving ahead, we have our second special chief guest with us, Mr. Jacob Peter, who is also the member of executive leadership team at Bosch, and he's also the senior vice president of mobility solutions. So over to you, Mr. Jacob, and the screen is again all yours. Jacob, are you there?
He's there. He's there.
Yeah. We are not able to hear you, Jacob. I see your mic is unmuted, though we are not able to hear you.
Hello,
Okay. Yes, yes, you're audible now.
am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Hopefully it continues like that. Hi, good morning, everybody. Glad to be part of this event. Bosch. I guess it's very important instrumental in anchoring the standards and also building a collaborative framework and a learning. I really request Boschlers to actively participate in it because it's a great forum where you learn along with people in the industry and also with co-Boschlers. I wish everybody a great session here and a tech day. And
Okay.
Others able to hear? Okay. I think we lost him.
Yeah, there's some network issue, but yeah, he was concluding saying that, yeah, he was encouraging all of us to join and contribute towards this. And Bosch is a learning organization. So, like Jacob was mentioning, that learning is something that we should be doing, and Bosch is a learning organization. And yes, we have to do our part towards this special program. Thank you, Jacob. And last but not the least, I would like to call upon screen Mr. Vadiraj Krishnamurthy, who is the Vice President CTO at RBEI. And here we go. Over to you, Mr. Vadiraj.
Hi, thank you, Kruti. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. You're visible also.
Okay, all right. Hi, good morning, all of you. So good to connect with all of you on this occasion. Um, I mean, before I go into what SAE can do and how this ecosystem can be, maybe I'll just little bit touch upon where what the topic Shanai brought in. I think for us, it's extremely important to make mobility safer, more convenient, and sustainable. I mean, we all know that we are not yet there at the safety limit. I mean, India still has so many fatalities, so many injuries, and which hurts so many families, right? So mobility is a basic human need, but how to make it safer, I think, is still a lot of work. Convenience is also important because I think the seamless digital connectivity and carrying our interactions in the consumer electronic world also into the car, and having a stress free mobility experience is also extremely important. And sustainability, I think I don't have to emphasize how important it is. We all know that there is a lot of burden that mobility brings onto our planet, and making it more sustainable, I think, is extremely important. So with these three purposes of safer, convenient, and sustainable mobility, the question is now, how do we put technology to best use, right? And how do we there bring our brains together, and also the whole digitization possibility, what we also call as Internet of Things, and connect the various mobility things, if I can say like that, together to bring our safety, convenience, and sustainability agenda forward. And if I look at that, there is a whole lot of opportunities and development that is possible in terms of technology. And I don't think any one organization or any one set of organization will be able to do that. It's extremely important for different organizations who believe in this agenda of safe, convenient, and sustainable mobility come together and collaborate together and co-create. Only then I think we will be able to apply those technologies in order to create a sustainable benefit. And I think in this context, SAE is an extremely important um, organization into this mobility ecosystem. And SAE, I think, has a very different role to play than any one particular technology provider, like our organization of Bosch. So I think I see SAE also as bringing together um, organization and people who are passionate about bringing technology and creating a big impact on how we see mobility. So in that context, I think it's I would encourage all Boschless to get connected, and it also helps us to little bit get out of our siloed world and get networked into various forms of organizations that are out there, and discuss and bring out how can we solve these three major problems of safe, comfortable, and sustainable mobility. So I would encourage, I think, all of you to be part of this mission to bring technology to life, which fits very well to Invented for Life, what we stand for as an organization. And also thanks SAE for organizing this and being part of our larger mission of Invented for Life. So I wish you a good technology intensive discussion today, and not only today but to continue this discussion and debate on how to bring technology and put it to use for a safer, comfortable, and sustainable mobility. Have a good day, have a good discussion, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Adiraj. That's actually important what you said. Safety is important. We also are very much into all the comfort and convenience and sustainability, which is Bosch is focusing on carbon neutral environment to be that's the future focus for Bosch. So yeah, all these 3 points are really important, and for that collaboration is important. And what better than SAE, right? Yeah. So thank you so much, Vadiraj. I see Jacob's hand is up. So, Jacob, would you like to speak a few words because we lost you in between? Jacob? Okay, I guess there are some network issues. That's fine. So amazing. In just 10 minutes, we got to know a lot from all the GLs. So thank you. Thanks again to our special guests, Mr. R.K. Shenoy, Jacob Peter, and Vadiraj for their beautiful words, and a huge round of applause for supporting and enabling one such program at RBEI. So thank you. Thank you so much. We also have with us Vijay Kumar, who is the General Manager of Head of Engineering and also the member of Managing Committee of SAE India Bangalore. So in one word, I would say he represents Bosch at SAE. So hello, Vijay. So would you like to add few words to what our special guests spoke today?
Yeah, I only say it's going to be an interesting day organized by SAE. So we have to keep our all senses open and take as much as possible. And that's what I'm looking forward. And similarly, it's a learning opportunity for all of us. Yeah. Thank you all.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Vijay. I see in the comments that many have said that they're not able to hear. So, are you able to hear now? I mean, can you acknowledge once again if you're able to hear us clearly? Yeah, okay. Maybe then for those who are not able to hear, maybe you can just check some of the settings. If you are not connected to the audio or something, yes, thank you. Thank you so much for all the responses. Yeah, moving on. I know we have a very smart audience, and they remember me telling that there are a lot of advantages of becoming a member of SAE. So I know you're curious to know, and before we get into the details of it, you now heard from our GLs, and you also heard from the chairman of SAE. We also watched an entertaining video in the beginning. So by hearing all this and seeing all this, so what is that you think would be the benefit of becoming a member of SAE? Again, in the interest of time, let's not go to the mentee. Use the same chat box to let us know what do you think? What are that things that are running in your mind when you think about the benefits? How would I get benefited out of this program? Yeah, anything that comes to your mind. So maybe for me, it is probably we get to know a lot of things. Yeah, knowledge connect, Santosh says. Yeah, maybe a lot of trainings, collaboration. Yes. Yeah, new connectivity, tech talks. Okay, I am getting a lot of responses, and to clarify all our doubts, I would like to call upon screen Mr. Venkat Raj, who is the Deputy Director General at SAE. And of course, there are the list is literally big. If I have to explain his profile, it is going to be endless, and it would take me at least few minutes. So I would now hand over to Mr. Venkat Raj to take over and let us know what is that we Boschlers are going to get benefited out of this program, and yeah, what are the benefits of becoming a member of SAE? Yes, passing the mic to you.
Thank you, Kruti. I think you form a good, MC. I hope I'm
Thank you.
audible.
Thanks for that compliment.
Yeah. So, respected Rakesh Shenoy, member of Executive Leadership Team and Senior VP Mobility Engineering at Bosch, and respected Jacob Peter, Senior Vice President and member of Executive Leadership at Bosch Engineering and Business Solutions, and respected Vadi Raj Krishnamurthy, Head Technology Innovation, CTO, Robert Bosch Engineering and Business Solutions, Mr. Damodaran, Bangalore Section Chair, and respected GVV Ravi Kumar, Dr. GVV Ravi Kumar, Associate Vice President Infosys, and one of the captains of our Aerospace Forum, who's going to be the guest speaker after me, and the Boschless. Namaste, Namaskara, Vanakkam, and good morning. I think, first of all, we would like to volunteer Kruti as an MC to our programs.
Thank you. Thanks for that. I'm glad.
Thank you. So,
Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen and Boschlers, why do you have to become a member? I think Kruti did a good job of asking why an engineer or a Boschler will have to become member of SAE India. Yeah, a little bit of introduction about myself. I've been a volunteer to this organization for 11 years. And then I jumped onto the roles of SAE India 5 years. And since then, I serve as Deputy Director General. That's a fancy designation, but I'm more of a passionate worker for SAE India, organizing events and aligning with our managing committee, aka board of directors, and our sections. So I've been an IBMer for 15 years, lived in Bangalore, Dubai, US, and Muscat. So international career. Started off as a CAD/CAM person. That is how I know Vijay from PSG Tech. So we have come a long way. So very quickly, we're getting into the question. I know I have only 20 minutes. Why do you have to become a member? I thought I should start off with Mr. Robert Bosch saying, let me close this. I hope the slides are visible and I'm audible enough.
Yeah. You are visible and audible.
Okay, technology which is designed and has the capability to help the whole of mankind make the best of their lives and find happiness in life. So thank you, Robert Bosch. So you built a large engineering organization which is serving the humankind in engineering and different branches of engineering. 4 major pillars: mobility, industry technology, energy and building technology, consumer goods. So it's a mammoth engineering conglomerate we are talking to. Boschlers, you are a proud part of the 330 employees in India, and Bosch has a long tradition in India, especially Coimbatore and Bangalore, on many things. So I'm going to focus on the business segment of mobility solutions, which actually yields about 59% of the share of the total business for you, and then something on industrial technology. Of these 4 pillars, Boschlers, we cover almost all of them, very little in supply chain management and building technologies, but definitely a lot in mobility and power tools. So these are taken from your annual report, the recent annual report. SAE's vision is aligned with the Bosch vision of accelerating the connected future with safety and intelligence. What did I touched upon the safety? We have actually come up with several standards, both active and passive. SAE, by the way, is known for standards. SAE is a gold standard for standards in automobile and aerospace and commercial vehicles sectors. Also, one of our vision is to disseminate the knowledge or the best practices in the mobility engineering. We'll see how. Another very interesting snippet taken from your corporate presentation is that the Birari plant recorded the highest ever production of 106,601 pumps, which is the highest ever, which means there are systems in place, efficiency in place, and a requirement for standards. Without standards, the plant would not have been able to produce so much in 1 year. So wherever you look at it, you have the SAE standards playing the role. And we are very well aligned to your space strategy, which means software and services and the CX or customer experience, and automated and assisted in terms of autonomous vehicles, in terms of electric vehicles, in terms of ADAS technology and whatnot. And on the connected also, we are dealing with several areas of connected. Electrified, no need to say, we have the ITEC, like Mr. Chennai mentioned, International Transportation Electrification Conference, in association with the Global IEEE Industry Automation Services Pillar. As you know, IEEE has 39 pillars, and we have signed up with one of them, which is very applicable to India, which is the e-mobility. I was just looking at the space strategy, and then quickly what it came up is, incidentally, we are doing electrifying 2- and 3-wheelers with the pragmatic approach, which is PDP. PDP stands for Professional Development Program. It is also called Top Tech Program. Virtually on 20th and 22nd of this month, we have lined up experts from several OEMs. We are talking to Ola, we are talking to TVS, Hero, Mobility, and many more. Ather is coming in. So it aligns with your strategy. So that was about the Bosch Corporation, Boschlers. Now, I am jumping into the top 10 benefits of being a member of Is it better now?
We are not able to hear. Yeah, now we can able to hear.
You're able to see also, Vijay?
Yes, we can
Yes,
able to.
Okay,
yes.
so I think some
I think that
automated
was
stop.
required in between. I think that was required in between because before we announce some Oscar award or any award, they keep that pause. The winner is, the winner is. So that way, yeah, we have top 10 benefits, I'm going to say, and there was a pause. So that was needed. And yeah,
How
go
about
ahead. It's all yours.
that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to see in the next 10 slides. I don't have too many slides. We are almost halfway through the presentation. See, the idea is to connect with you as Boschler in different levels. There are Boschlers who are just starting, and there are Boschlers who are in the middle, mid of their career, and there are few Boschlers who can be the subject matter expert and who are the SMEs in a respective field. So the number one is we run magazine called Mobility Engineering. We invite technical articles from you, no charges, and it has to go through the scrutiny of experts. Dr. Shankar Venugopal of Mahindra leads the pack of the specialists who will empanel the article and columnist. Number two is the PDP, that is the colloquial language or the term of Saeindia. By the way, I welcome the Vietnam Boschlers as well. I'll probably touch upon something there a little later. So since the rise of the pandemic on 24th March 2020, Saeindia has organized 180 webinars and almost one PDP a week in different areas, automobile, aerospace, and off-highway. And we take it on ourselves to deliver value to our members. So once in a month, we offer complimentary programs for the members, and the rest are paid not so much, it's about 500 rupees, 1,000 rupees. So I was thinking that how this slide will be useful in terms of PDP. So these are the 9 boxes of a Boschler. We have done specific PDP for the chassis systems. We have done conference in automotive electronics. We have done a PDP not only on electrical drives and all the drives. We have done some lecture meeting on the steering. We have also done something on the entire mobility, which Robert Bosch Engineering and Mobility Business Solutions deal with. So if you look at any of these boxes, not so much on the consumer electronics or home appliances, but other than that, I think all the 8 boxes, we have something to take away. Same thing in technical conferences also. This is one of the strengths of Saeindia. We are known for instituting and inculcating technical conferences on various topics, be it automobile or aerospace or the tractors or commercial vehicles. So this is a society for the engineers, by the engineers, and run by the engineers. So the steering committee, organizing committee, technical committee, industry interface committee, many of these committees are driven by the mobility organizations like Mahindra, Maruti, Renault Nissan, Telco, Tata Motors, Bosch, many of them, including some famous academicians in respective field. In fact, thanks to Robert Bosch's support, we have conducted the first ever functional safety conference sometime early this year. And that was a runaway hit, thanks to Dr. Ronnie Mukherjee and team and Mr. Shenoy. So we do both online and in person. And thanks to this little virus, most or all of our programs are online now. We are completely geared up for the digital pathway. We do have agreement with SAE International. I'll tell you in a bit what is SAE International, who's FISITA, and all that. So many of the conferences are annual editions, yearly once, or biannual, once in 2 years or every alternate year, like ITEC. And all our conferences are self-sustainable, which means we're not here to make money through registrations. We are here for knowledge dissemination, and there is a nominal fee to manage the incidental charges. SAE MITEC zone, Bosslers, is something which you have to note down in a piece of paper. So that is the world famous technical paper evaluation system. The moment you present a paper in MITEC zone, that gets into the world's database of mobility engineering. Believe it or not, we have the papers presented from 1905 till last year. It's called SAE Mobilis, that's coming up. So we have other opportunities as well. So technical panel discussions are possible. If you think that there is a need for putting together the government, industry, OEMs, software firms, and academia together and discuss about a technical topic, come to us. I think we can organize technical panel discussions. So it is just that we have some discipline. It has to go through some forums and boards, and committee has to approve, but that is usual. So we have had some successful panel discussions. Technical paper submission is something which is very, very famous and we are known for. Kindly note down this website, saemobilis.sae.org, which is based out of US. And our technical papers are written and peer reviewed by experts in the respective field. And it contains latest advances in research and applied technical engineering information. What you see on the right-hand side, the table, is the collection of the technical papers submitted. So the column 1 is a serial number, column 2 is the title of the conference, and column 3 is the year in which it was conducted. So we have done several conferences in different topics, and we continue to do so. Back to the Bosch, the 4 pillars: mobility, industry technology, consumer goods, energy, and building technology. Now, I would like to fuse both SAE India and the purpose of Bosch. If you look at the mobility solutions, and these are the areas you are specialized in: powertrain, chassis, electrical drives, car multimedia, so on and so forth. If you look at each of these areas, SAE India has either a panel discussion or a PDP or a conference or an article in our magazine. So this is your go-to place if you are in mobility engineering. Not so much on the industrial technology, but we do touch upon. There is a company called TBMG, Tech Brief Media Group. PDP is Professional Development Program, which is nothing but training. So that was a question in the chat box. Okay, coming back, in 1968, NASA thought that barring a few confidential technologies, all other technologies discovered and patented should be used for the humankind. And how do they inform or tell the human kind or the society? They started off with magazines, and that company is Tech Brief Media Group based out of New York. They run 11 magazines, 11. One is for automotive, one is for optics, one is for powertrain. You've got about 11 different areas. And that was taken over by SAE International in 2002. That is now called SAE Media Group Company. So the number 6 is the be a judge or speaker. Some of you are very, very familiar with these logos. In case if you are not, I can tell you the college design series is nothing but the student competitions. And India as a country has 3,357 engineering institutions according to AICTE, out of which 486 is covered by SAE India, which is largest footprint besides IEEE, 17%. So REEP is managed by Bangalore section, Baha is a cult, Tiffan is for tractor engineers and FE cycle. You can publish an article, please come to us. And the snapshot at the bottom of the slide is taken from your corporate presentation. So if you look at any one of these topics, I think we have a lecture meeting on this. It's very few that we have not covered. I can proudly say that. And it is through the WebEx system online, and the whole thing is managed at the back end by the SAE India headquarters office in Chennai. We send the bulk mail and social media marketing. The format is 90 minutes with Q&A, basically for about 45 minutes lecture and then 15 minutes of Q&A, and then the rest is for running some videos, etc. So this is just a health check. You are going to listen to the session by our expert, Dr. G.V.V. Ravi Kumar, who is also a member of G31 Aerospace Standards. There are over 9,000 engineers and professionals like Dr. G.V.V. Ravi Kumar across the world is defining standards for mobility engineering in different areas. So I'm not going to read it. I've already left the copy with Vijay of this presentation, so you can take it. The next one is volunteering. Many of you would have thought that how can I contribute to the country or the engineering or India? So if you would like to redefine mobility for the future, and if you would like to give back, why not? SAE India is the place. In fact, I started off my career with SAE India as a volunteer and continue to remain as a volunteer, of course, on salary now. So very quickly, I'm moving on because time is running out. NPD is new product development. The major phases of NPD, ideation, planning, and development and testing, we contribute. Launch and commercialization is outside the scope of SAE India. We are more of a design organization. So these are some of the past PDP. PDP is Professional Development Program. We have had fantastic program on nano engineered materials for aircraft and auto applications, advanced powertrain by Dr. Ajay Prasad, and functional safety conference, which is very relevant. The third column says the number of participants. I know I'm getting a lot of questions. I'm going to allocate some time for that. I'll quickly finish these slides. So these are the speakers, and we had 26262 covered in a major fashion. I thought very, very quickly in 5 minutes, I should touch upon the genesis or the birth of SAE and SAE India. So dear Boschlers, it all started with Leonardo da Vinci, Italy, with a self-propelled car, and then the world moved on. Henry Ford came in, Model T came in, you all know about it. And then in 1916, the very word automotive was coined by an SAEN. In fact, he's a journalist, two journalists, in fact. They formed this word. Auto in the language Greek is called self. Motivus in Latin is called propelled. So anything which is self-propelling, self-propelled is called automotive. So contrary to the popular perception, automotive does not only mean automobiles, it also includes aerospace and tractors and anything which is self-propelled. As a matter of fact, your space vehicle also. Our key motivation continue to be the same: oversight of technical standards and information sharing. Kaun hai SAE International? Who is SAE International? Founded in 1905, the parental body for maintaining technical standards, publications, conferences, professional development, membership, and education. SAE is based out of Warrendale, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, US. They also have Industry Technology Consortia and Performance Research Institute. Okay, what about SAE India? 1991, India has seen a major change, trade liberalization. And 1994, CEAT. Today is the 17th edition of the concluding day of CEAT. CEAT is a famous international conference conducted by ARAI. Okay, what is ARAI? Automotive Research Association of India. Who are they? The homologation or certification agency for automobiles of all kinds. Now, CEAT is Symposium in International Automotive Technology. And 1995, Dr. Pawan Goenka, who is also one of your independent directors, he's the father of SAE India and Baha. And then things have happened, a lot of things. And Bangalore section got formed in 2004, 2005, Aerospace Board, Automobile Board. More information is available on our website, saeindia.org, and all this is available. Who are our stakeholders? Students, faculty members, industry professional, industry captains. We are well organized, and we have forums, boards, sections, and special committees. We have about 20 people. Most of them sit in Chennai, and we do have Bangalore office, Pune in Wakad, and Palam Vihar in Delhi, Aurangabad, Ahmedabad, and other places we have section offices. Okay, so only 3 more slides to go. Take a breath. Nowadays, everybody is hooked onto this breaking news, right? IPL mein ye hoga and Bangalore mein ye hoga. So everything is breaking news. So I thought I can use that. It's just cheating. So advancing mobility engineering through SAE India membership is possible. 5,000 engineers, 50,000 students, 480 engineering institution, and that is SAE India for you. So is there a value? Yes, 1,400 per year. That is less than 4 rupees a day. What do you get? You get a lot of stuff on your left-hand side. We also have a lifetime membership, which is 10 years, 10,000 rupees, and you get for 10 years. What role can I play? If you're less than 28 years of age, then you're called young professionals. You can attend our programs. If you're between 28 and 45, you're called seasoned professionals. You can be a volunteer. And if you're above 45 in a particular field, then you're called industry captain. So you can be a volunteer. This is the last slide piece. So the annual subscription is so much, and this will help you to advance your engineering career as a bachelor. You can attend local programs, national and international conferences, and almost all of them are virtual now. Bangalore is one of the vibrant sections. In fact, incidentally, only Bangalore section has the city name. Whereas other sections, southern section, western and northern section. So Bangalore section covers entire Karnataka. You can be a judge, or you can submit a paper. You can deliver a lecture. And no travel, no approval, your time, your progress. And look at these websites. And I'm going to stop here. So, Kruti, do we have time for taking some questions?
Okay, there are many questions coming in, and in the interest of time, probably we'll take a couple of them. Yeah, so is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we'll just take a couple of them, and then maybe towards the end, if we have time, we'll again go through them. So one question is from Shiv Kumar, and he asks, so the question is about the race of introducing SAE Level 2 ADAS systems in India by both Indian OEMs as well as by MNCs. So considering our Indian road infrastructure conditions, would you like to he would like to understand the initiative by SA India to ensure safety of such systems. So, is
Yeah.
there any collaboration with ARAI?
Can I take this question?
Yes, please. Now,
Thank you. It's a brilliant question. We have been thinking about this particular topic. Uh, you all know that we are conducting MBAHA as well EBAHA. One of the discussion from the leadership team, this time EBAHA is going to happen in Bangalore. It's not going to be the competition format, but we want to invite a little bit of a target setting for this. Uh, I don't know the level, but we want to introduce in a less critical e-mobility applications, how to introduce ADAS. So we are going to have an exclusive seminar and training. For example, uh, the industrial carts, that's not going to kill anybody, that's not going to be on road, but that will allow us to understand how the vision, how the lidars, how we can set some kind of a targets. This we plan to do it in the student community. If there is a lot of interest from the professional members, maybe we will extend this with much more higher level of skills for the professional members.
thank you, Damu. Just to add to that, Shiva, former director of ARII, Madam Rashmi Urvadashi, is our president for 2 years until October next year. And do we have any collaboration with ARIA? A lot. For example, the ARIA Academy Chief, Dr. K.C. Vora, is our Faculty Development Program Chair and the Senior Deputy Director of Chakan Facility. Chakan is a place in Pune, industrial MIDC place, and the chief of that is our Western Section Chair. So there is a tight collaboration between these two. To answer your question on SAE Level 2 ADAS systems in India, that's a very specific question. I can take it offline. We can give it to Dr. Vijay Kumar. He'll explain about the standards. Do we have a Coimbatore chapter? Vignesh, we do have. Some of them are dormant, some of them are active. Because it's a volunteer organization, it comes with its own emotions. But I am very happy to conduct an exclusive face-to-face program for Bosch Coimbatore. I hail from Coimbatore, so Vijay enna polama. So we
But
can
Venki,
actually
don't miss out to me. I have a lot of colleagues and friends in Coimbatore and also in
yes.
Bosch. I just got a hi from Purushothaman after a long time.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I think we have a battery of Coimbaturians. We can come and do, Vignesh. Any other questions? I think that's about it.
Okay, yeah, that's about it. And there were questions about the membership and all of that, for which there are links shared, and maybe
Yeah,
we
it's
can also
clear.
take them later if there are any specific questions. Yeah.
We have
Okay.
made saeindia.org as a digital pathway. So spend some time in between Bosch work and IPL, 10 minutes on saeindia.org sometime in the evening. That will give you a host of information, not only on automotive, aerospace, and a lot of stuff. So I'm going to stop here and probably welcome Dr. Ravi Kumar. So thanks for coming. Over to you, Kritik.
Yes. Okay. So thank you so much. So we got 10 different benefits we learnt about from SAE. So I'm sure all the Boshlers are definitely going to make use of them by becoming a member very soon. And up next, let's continue our tech manoranjan for today. Yes, Venkat.
You are now volunteered for MC.
Okay. So I'm already in there. Yes.
Sorry, over to
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, so now let's move on. Yeah, like I said, मनोरंजन तो होना चाहिए ना. Let's continue. Let's continue with our tech मनोरंजन, for which I would like
Bilkul.
to invite Dr. Ravi Kumar, who is the Associate Vice President and Head of Advanced Engineering Group at Infosys. So, hello, Dr. Ravi Kumar, and Ravi will tell us how can professionals contribute to SAE industry standards. So we learned the benefits. Now let's see how we can contribute to it. So the screen is all yours, and you deep dive us into this topic.
Thank you,
Welcome,
Kruti.
Dr. Ravi Kumar.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Bosslers and the SAE and team for giving me this wonderful opportunity. So as Kruti mentioned, I'll just walk you through some of the standards and how you can participate in the standards program. Are you able to hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
excellent.
You're
Clear,
audible.
clear.
Yeah.
Excellent. So let me share my screen.
It's also visible, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Please put it in the slideshow.
Yes. Okay.
And
So
maybe
I
to
have
our
a,
audience, yeah, if you have any questions meanwhile coming up, you can post them there in the chat box. Yeah. Okay, over to you again.
thank you. Thanks, Kriti. So as this particular slide shows, I'm currently head the advanced engineering group at Infosys. I also chair G31 electronic transactions for Aerospace Technical Committee for SAE International. I'm with Infosys for more than 19 years now, based out of Bangalore. Prior to Infosys, I was with Ministry of Defense, Government of India, Aeronautical Development Agency, more specifically, as part of a product that was acquired by Infosys. Myself, my entire team moved to Infosys. Before Ministry of Defense, I was scientist at a corporate R&D center, Tata Research Center. Did my PhD and master's from IIT Delhi, bachelor's from BITS Pilani. So that's about me. Of course, a lot of my career I spent in aerospace, but of late I started working on automotive as well. In fact, my group and I'm closely associated with India's first autonomous golf cart, along with our partner, Mini. So we built that golf cart now. Yeah, it is now commercialized. So that's the experience that I have as far as the automotive is concerned, more specifically in the autonomous side of it. So what I will do is I'll quickly walk through the SAE standards. Venkatraj has given a beautiful insight about SAE activities. One of the important activity is on the SAE standards. So what I'm going to give or what I'm going to present today is essentially why standards. What are SAE standards organizations today? How standards committees work? And more specifically, I'll give a perspective on G31 electronic transactions for Aerospace Technical Committee, just to give a illustration on how a typical committee works so that you can correlate to any other technical committee. Then one of the important questions that you all have is, how can I participate in standards development? Right? So I'll walk you through that, and you're most welcome to be part of this standards development. And also I'll briefly touch upon few other interesting topics, more specifically the Aero standards, the international workshop that we have conducted recently. So that information is available if anybody wants to utilize to go through that particular workshop. It is available offline. So I can provide those details. Coming back to standards, right? One of the important thing that any industry is realizing today or is is looking at is more and more collaboration and ecosystem participation. Every organization realized that it will not work if you go for vertical integration. That means you want to do each and every component or each and every subsystem system of a vehicle your own. Okay, then it's very, very tough for you. Rather, everybody is going after the horizontal integration. In the sense, it is essentially a kind of ecosystem where large number of players that are out there, the OEMs, system integrators, tier 1 suppliers, tier 2 suppliers, material suppliers, there's so many players. They all come together. They have their deep expertise in their own area. And because of the deep expertise, they were able to build the next generation products and services. And also they were able to integrate it much faster and take it to market. Okay. So that is what the scenario today. So that means it is all about the ecosystem. When you are working in an ecosystem, how do you make sure that the data that gets from one organization to the other organization is independent of the nuances that are there? The components, the physical components, systems, subsystems, everything has to work in a coordinated manner. So for that, you definitely need standards. Okay, standards in one way or the other, it will help in collaboration. It will help in building the capacity and capability. As I said earlier, it's all about the horizontal integration. It helps in reducing the cost. At the end of the day, the end user should not feel the pinch of a cost of a vehicle. Okay? As much as possible to make it viable, you need to reduce the cost. And standards are some of those vehicles to reduce the cost. And also it will help you to improve the efficiency. And last but not the least, it will help build safer and sustainable planet. As Venkatraj has mentioned earlier, SAE International is one of the premier body which is driving standards for over 100 years. In fact, they have published the first international aerospace standard in January 1917. It is all about a spark plug. And you can see some of that visuals here. Okay, this is the first aerospace standard that was developed by the SAE International. And after that, there are a lot of people started working on the various standards, various technical committees and things like that. I just want to apologize here. I will give more from an aerospace perspective because it is very close to my heart and I know a lot of the stuff there. But from the automotive side as well, a lot of work goes here as far as the standards development is concerned. Okay, so SAE standards organization, it is grouped in three broad buckets. Okay, one is SAE Aerospace Council, which is responsible for developing aerospace standards. Then SAE Global Ground Vehicles Standards. It is all about the land vehicles, more specifically highway, non-highway, off-highway vehicles. More specifically, all that standards are managed by SAE Global Ground Vehicle Standards. Then we have SAE Systems Management Council. So this is another council. So all the three organizations drive these standards development. I'll just bring it up. One typical organization structure of the SAE Aerospace Council. So you can see here, this is a sizable structure that is out there. Okay. And this particular SAE Aerospace Council consists of many committees: Aerospace General Projects and Systems Groups Committees, Aircraft Systems Group Committees, Aerospace Electronics and Electrical Systems Group Committees, and things like that. Under each one of them, there are various technical committees that are there here. So you can see here, Aerospace General Project Systems, group committees, you have G10, G18, G20, these are all general committees. Okay, so that is why it starts from the G. And the committee that I represent is G31 Electronic Transactions for Aerospace. Okay, so you can see here the gamut of committees that are out there. All of these committees work for the aerospace industry, developing various standards for the aerospace. Okay. Similarly, we have the Ground Vehicles Committee. So this is Ground Vehicles Committee. So this has Motor Vehicles Council, Truck and Bus Council, Fuel and Lubricant Council. So these are the various councils that are out there on the ground vehicles. And this is also a sizable technical committee. A lot of people come forward, volunteer, work with the teams and develop these standards. And if you move on to the other one, Systems Management Council, there are few important committees, technical committees here. These are related to the configuration management, reliability, human systems integration, EMI, EMC, which are very common to both aerospace as well as the ground vehicles. Okay, so that's how it has been structured. These are the three committees that we have today, which are responsible for SAE standards. So this is a quick snapshot of that, whatever I just showed it on the PDF file. So in one way or the other, if you look at, I'm just taking only the SAE Aerospace. What is that they're doing today? A quick glance of it. So last year, during pandemic, there are close to around 125 meetings were held worldwide. Okay, and 2,622 20 virtual meetings here, and of course there are close to around 8,300 individual committees who are working on these particular standards. And you can see here there are close to around 657 standards were published in 2020 alone. Okay. And a typical standard takes about 18 months to get published. Okay, so that's the average time that it is there. And essentially, standards development is a very intense work. Various people come together, develop those standards and get it approved. Okay, and these entire standards are driven by standard committees. Okay, typically, if you look at any standard committee of SAE International, it will have these people. Okay, so one is the chair of the technical committee. You have the vice chair of the technical committee and the secretary. So these are the leadership positions of the technical committee, and they conduct the meetings. Okay, and also they are responsible for defining the roadmap for that particular technical committee. What are the standards that need to be developed? And what is the typical timeline for that particular standard? And all that thing is being done by these people. And also we have people who are voting members. Okay, SAE International develops standards through consensus mechanism. All the voting members have to approve a particular document. Even if one person doesn't approve, then it will not go forward to the next level. Okay, the sponsor of the document, who is currently leading that effort, has to get or ensure consensus across those members, voting members, and make sure that the document is approved. Then we have the liaison members, who are not the voting members, but who are important members, provide valuable feedback. Then we have the mailing members. So essentially, these are people who may not attend the meetings regularly, but they will provide a lot of insights. Okay. Then this particular committee develops the standards. So I'll give you the standard development process in a few minutes. And also, whatever standards that have been developed, those are living documents, in the sense those documents need to be updated on a continuous basis, because the technology is getting changed, and everything is in flux, and some of the standards may be relevant, some of the standards may not be relevant, some of the standards need to be updated with the certain aspects, all the things that they do. Typically, a standards development process goes through these phases. Right? So essentially, whenever you want to develop a particular standard, you need to initiate the process saying that these are standards that need to be developed. Okay. Create a kind of initial outline of that particular document, more specifically the rationale of the document. Why do you want to bring that document? What is the rationale behind it? Who is going to use this particular document? All that things is being done through the initiation phase. Then there is a small committee, expert committee, that will get formed within that particular technical committee, and they come together. They start working on that particular document. They iterate continuously and mature the document. Once that particular committee feels that it is fairly matured, they will put it for ballot. Okay? So ballot is essentially a kind of voting process. All the voting members have to approve that particular document. Okay? Even if one member doesn't approve, then it's a problem. It will not pass that ballot. Then once it goes through the ballot, okay, then it goes to the next level, governance committee. That is basically, in the aerospace side, it is the Aerospace Council who is going to review the document, the next level, because they need to look at from an oversight perspective, from overall process standpoint. Okay, once they approve, it will become a typical publication. That will be available on the SAE International site, where you are, so many of you might be using those standards for your own daily work. Okay? So that's how it does. So I'll just give you a kind of quick summary about the G31 committee, because I've just told you about the process. I want to give some more additional details so that you will be much more clear. That additional details I will orchestrate through my committee. So this is the Aerospace Council that I just mentioned. In this particular council, we have the Aerospace General Projects Systems Group Committees. In that, we have the G31 Electronic Transactions for Aerospace Technical Committee. G32 is Cyber Physical System Security. Then G34 is Artificial Intelligence in Aviation. So all those committees comes under that particular group. And if you look at G31 Electronic Transactions for Aerospace Technical Committee, the mission is to develop standards for sharing electronic data and transactions within the aerospace and space transportation ecosystems, okay, addressing both manned as well as unmanned aircraft systems from concept to disposal. So that is the mission that we have. And the scope of this particular technical committee is developing standards for blockchain for the entire aviation ecosystem, digital thread, digital twin technologies, developing standards for that, safety and security related to e-transactions, electronic transactions, data storage and retrieval, especially for the high bandwidth application, data interoperability aspects. This is what the scope of this particular technical committee. Whatever standards that are being developed, they should align to that particular scope. Then this is the organization structure. I chair this particular committee. Then the vice chair is Robert, who is from Boeing. Secretary, we have Chris, who is from Toyota. Then we have the technical advisors, the sales staff, and we have the year of formation, 2018. It is fairly a new committee. And these are the people who are part of this particular committee. We have all the OEMs, the Airbus, Boeing, GE, Rolls-Royce, everybody is there. Tier 1, Tier 2 suppliers, operators, regulators, MRO service providers, art distributors, IT product and service providers, and all the people across the globe. This is one of the important technical committees in SAE Aerospace Council. The documents that we have published so far, these are the published standards. We have published 4 standards so far, even though we started this particular committee in 2018. These are the 4 standards, and there are 3 standards who are currently in progress. So if anybody or any one of you are interested in working in any of these documents, do let me know, more specifically the work-in progress documents. So we are more or less in the final stages of completion for the blockchain for unmanned aircraft systems and advanced air mobility document. We are currently working on digital thread in the aircraft lifecycle management. Then we are working on the electronic authorized release certificate for the aerospace ecosystem. Okay. So these are the 3 documents that we are currently working, and 4 documents is already been published. SAE, as I said, its standards process is open to everyone. Not that you need to be expert, just be there, a part of that particular group. First, initially, you will learn from the group. Okay. Later, you will start contributing to that particular group. The fact that I joined this group, not that I know many things, but I want to learn. Okay. And this is a great opportunity. The reason is you have a lot of those like-minded people, okay, across the industry, working from different perspectives, whether it is a OEM, Tier 1 supplier, Tier 2 supplier, or an IT system provider. Each one has their own perspective. You are collectively bringing that wisdom together to develop a particular standard. That's one important thing. The other one is, at the end of the day, you're a professional, you're an engineer. You need to continuously improve your technical capability. And also you need to contribute back to the industry, because the knowledge, whatever we have, it has been accumulated over the years. Our past generations have given this knowledge to us. Okay, it is up to us, or it is in the best interests of humanity. We need to pass this knowledge back for the future generations. Okay, so that's the motive. And definitely, if you are very keen to attend these meetings, part of these meetings, you are most welcome. Okay, and in fact, towards that, to evangelize the standards development activity in India, we have conducted one workshop, international workshop, on September 23rd and 24th, just last week. 2-day workshop, various technical committees, their chairs, they came forward and given beautiful presentations about their technical committees, the standards that they are currently working on, the kind of help that they need from us. All that has been deliberated here. One of the worst things that I would say is, with 1 billion population that we have, or more than 1 billion, I would say, our contributions to these global standards is very, very limited. Very few people are connected. But gone are those days. We have huge talent in the country, whether it is in the aerospace or automotive. Every one of us are contributing to the global programs. Come forward and be part of the standards development. I'll tell you one thing I can guarantee you is, whatever you contribute, 10 times more than you contributed, you learn from this organization and technical standards. So that's about it. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. In fact, I'll share this presentation with you all. You're most welcome to connect me or the SAE or Kruti, the entire team. I take the liberty, but let us work towards making this mobility industry more vibrant. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. We just have one question for you in the audience. And audience, if you have any questions, you can also post right now. We'll take a couple of them in the interest of time. So there's one question where, what activities are going on in SAE India related to AI/ML in the automotive industry?
Yeah, no, I think this is a great question. In fact, there is a lot of work that is being done on the autonomous vehicles. In fact, SAE itself has put down those 5 levels of autonomy for the automotive industry, level 1 to level 5. Okay, it is a joint standard that was developed by SAE, and many of you might have used it knowingly or unknowingly. That is the first document that has come, and a lot of committees are working, multiple committees are working together there. In fact, from aerospace side, we are pulling out some of the work that has already been done by the automotive guys and seeing what they have done and how much is relevant for the aerospace, and more specifically in the AI space, okay, and taking it forward. And I can provide you offline. There is no problem. There's tons and tons of material. If you have, I mean, you go to Google and then press SAE International and Automotive Standards, you will get a lot of that information inside.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I just want you to be on screen for a while, and I want to ask my audience. So, in childhood, you might have some dream of becoming something. Yeah. So, what is that dream that you had when you were in childhood? It could be anything. So, what was that dream?
No, that's a great question, Kruti. I had a dream of becoming a scientist. Okay.
Oh, okay, okay.
And yeah,
Yeah, that's nice.
that dream kept me motivated. I continued my studies in one single stretch. Probably at the age of 26, I got my PhD. Till that time, I have not looked back. And after that, I got a job as a scientist. I was very happy being there. And then I had the opportunity to work for Indian Light Combat Aircraft Program. I settled there, doing a lot of work and developing softwares. Then it was Dr. Kalam and Dr. Kota who said, okay, we should take this product to the industry. That's how I moved along with the product to Infosys and continue to work. And at Infosys, yes, I do a lot of that advanced engineering group, the group that I currently head. And it is a fascinating group working on all the leading technologies. Of course, we are learning together. That's
Wow, amazing. You're living your dream. So that's fantastic. So Vijay, what was your dream? And also audience, you can post in the chat box. What was your dream to become when you were in your childhood? Yes, Vijay.
Yeah, I want to be a kind of scientist. Of course, like Dr. Ravi Kumar mentioned, I want to be in NASA. That was my dream.
That's amazing. Okay. Okay, that's nice. Okay, I think our audience are already in Friday mode. I'm not getting any responses, but
No,
if you
indeed,
ask me,
somebody said a scientist in theoretical physics. Yeah, I can see some response coming in.
yeah. Yes, scientist. So yeah,
Correct.
that's fantastic. So we have many scientists today in this session.
Right.
If you ask me, I always wanted to become a pilot. So because you were explaining about aeronautics and all of those topics, so I was able to go back and okay, this was something that okay, I wanted to become a pilot, and now maybe I get an opportunity to do something in that field of aeronautics. So yeah, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. Maybe if there are any questions, we'll again come back and relook at them towards the end. So in the interest of time, let's move forward. Let's continue our tech manoranjan ahead. Yes, so I would like to invite Mr. Gaurav Dubey, who is the principal application engineer at MathWorks, and Gaurav will tell us how to bridge the gap between model-based system engineering and model-based design. So over to you, Gaurav, and yeah, maybe with a brief introduction of you and then the topic.
Thank you,
Welcome,
Kruti.
Gaurav.
Thank you, Vijay.
thank you.
I hope I'm audible and visible.
Yes,
You
you
can
are.
see my screen.
Yes, we can
Yeah.
see.
Nice. So thank you for the brief introduction, Kruti. I will add a bit on that. As Kruti mentioned, I'm Gaurav Dubey. I'm working as a principal application engineer in MathWorks. I've been, sort of engineer, I would say, throughout my life. As she was talking about the childhood dream, I wanted to, the first dream that I can remember is that I wanted to be a cycle repair mechanic. I saw that person using these tools and making magic in my bicycle. I wanted to do that, but I tried all those things at home. So I was an engineer throughout my life, but in industry as a designated engineer, I've been working for over 17 years, focusing on embedded system development, For automotive, I worked on engine management system, ECU development, and focused on model-based design and model-based system engineering. So these are the topics that we are going to talk about today, that how we can bridge the gap between model-based system engineering and model-based design. And as Kruti mentioned in the beginning, this is an IPL fun match for us. So the last few overs left, buckle up. We have to score as much as we can in these last few overs. If you have any question, please keep it posted in the chat window. I'll try to answer as much as possible based on the time available. So what we are going to see today is about the system engineering. What, why, and how. What is it? Why we do need it? And how we can implement model-based system engineering. I will be just touch basing on the basics of that. If you have a detailed question, we can have a detailed discussion later. When we talk about how, we will see what are the key activities involved in implementing a model-based system engineering workflow, and how we can transition from model-based system engineering to model-based design. So before we start, let's have a quick look into what is system. We talk about system engineering, but what is system? A theoretical definition of a system can look something like it's a group of interacting and interrelated entities which communicate with each other. It is having a defined boundaries, a structure, and purpose, right? Sounds complex, it's a theory. But if we look into our day-to-day life, a car is a good example of a system. In this, we have multiple entities, ECUs, engine, we have sensors, actuators, drivers, environment, all these entities working together to make the whole system, which we call car. But when we talk about the system, the first thing comes in our mind is about the system complexity. As we took an example of a car, let's see how the complexity of a car increased over the time. Initially, the life was comparatively simple. We had just a pure mechanical system as a car. Then came the electromechanical system, having an electrical component and the mechanical component working together in a complex way. Then comes the mechatronic systems. It is having mechanical, electrical, electronic, software parts involved in that. And nowadays we can talk about the electrification of the vehicle, making it the system more complex. And the world is going towards the more software intensive, autonomous, interconnected systems, right? So we can see over the period of time, in probably within 100 years of period, the complexity of the system increased multiple fold. So to cope up with this complexity, we need a better system to handle it, right? Example I took here is the electric vehicle. In the layman terminology, electric vehicle is nothing. It's a car which is a battery, which is powering motor based on the driver demand, right? It sounds that simple. But we start looking in details about the vehicle, and we try to draw the architecture of an electric car. It can be as complex. This is the simplest way I can represent an electric vehicle. Still, it looks like a bit complex, that multiple components interacting with each other in different ways. And that is what we have to represent as a system or a system architecture. So why we need a system engineering? So system engineering is all about coping up with the complexity. It helps us in avoiding the omissions and invalid assumptions, right? So system engineering is something which comes in the picture the moment you think about a system, the thoughts comes in your mind, you start thinking about it, you start visualizing how the system will look like, and that is where the system engineering kicks in, and you start working on that. It's a very famous statement that I always like to mention, is from the Albert Einstein, is that if he has 1 hour to solve a problem, he would spend 55 minutes thinking about a problem and just 5 minutes thinking about the solution. So emphasis on spending more time in analyzing and optimizing the problem statement is not new. It's there forever. And system engineering helps us in doing that better. But what we talk about is more of the model-based system engineering, right? It's a part of the system engineering. What is model-based system engineering? If you are aware of the model-based design, model-based system engineering is also all about designing the models to represent the architecture requirement, using it for the analysis for any sort of a system. On the right-hand top side, you can see the electric vehicle architecture, while at the left bottom side, you can see an architecture that I developed for the de havilland aircraft, right? So whichever industry you're working on, whichever application you are working on, whether it is aerospace, automotive, home appliances, doesn't matter. The concept of model-based system engineering remains same, and the benefits remain same for that. Now, why do we care about all these things? I spoke about optimizing the problem statement, ensuring what we understand is correct, and passing that information downstream to the design teams. Why do we care? I'm pretty sure you all have seen this type of the cartoon before, right? It might sound looks funny, but when it happens in a project, it's not that funny at all, right? So this is all about the difference between the understanding of a problem and passing the understanding of that problem statement to the downstream teams or the stakeholders. If there is a communication gap, we cannot build a right product, right? And this is what is being already mentioned by Mr. Vadiraj in the beginning, that we have to come out of the silos and work together as a team, regardless of which domain we are working on which part of the program we are working on, right? And this is what the model-based system engineering can help you in doing. So like SAE, INCOSE is another industry organization. It stands for International Council on System Engineering, which works, there's a multiple organizations and enthusiasts working together to develop the standards and promoting the system engineering across the industries. So as per the INCOSE, there are the 7 steps to success, right? Do not rely on luck, use system engineering. There are 7 steps of the success. Understand the problem, investigate alternative solutions. Do not jump directly to the first solution that comes in your mind. Define and agree upon the system architecture. Involve the different stakeholders in your discussions. Agree and manage the requirement. Agree and manage the interfaces. Prepare the test and support system, and track progress against the plan. We are going to see how we can implement at least few of it or most of it using the model-based system engineering. So the concept of model-based system engineering or the system engineering itself is well integrated in the industry standard also. If you know about the Automotive SPICE process reference model, there's a dedicated section about the system engineering, which talk about the requirement analysis, architecture design, allocations, etc. Right? A good example came from Bosch itself, where there is a talk available. You will get this link with you. You can go to that, where the Bosch is talking about how they developed the system architecture in compliance with the A-SPICE model and used it in the workflow. Now we spoke about a very basic about what is model-based system engineering, why we should look into that, but going deeper in, and let's start looking into what is the workflow, what are the steps involved in implementing a model-based system engineering, right? So we know everything starts with a stakeholder need. You get some customer requirement or internal team requirements. From those requirements, a high-level requirement, you define a more refined requirements out of that, right? A better textual requirement document that explain about the use cases and how the system need to be developed. From those requirements, we develop the system architecture, a sort of a block diagram or any sort of a diagram that can represent how my system might look like or work like. In those architecture, we defined more characteristics of the systems, right? When I say characteristics of the system, if I'm defining a battery in an architecture, I start defining what is the size, what is the power capacity, what is the weight, cost, vendor, these type of the properties on those components, which help us in optimizing our architecture better, doing more trade studies on that. It is a highly iterative process, as you can understand. Once we finalize the architecture, we start passing this architecture across the stakeholders. We pass the system architecture relevant to the mechanical engineering team, electronics team, electrical team, software teams, etc. And for that, we create different type of views so that the other team can easily understand your architecture. This is a highly collaborative process. Now, once that activity is completed, we start designing the behavior of those components. And this is what we call the designing the components, right? When I say I have a battery management system, I start defining the algorithm for battery management system. And that we do that in model-based design workflow. When we are doing it, our requirements are no more just the system level requirement, it becomes the design level requirements. And we have to ensure that all these requirements, architecture, and the model are connected with each other so that we can respond to the changes in any stage quickly and easily. Once you have the model ready, you do the testing on the model, and then you finally go for the deployment of that model in the microcontroller or FPGAs or whatever the tool you are using. So this is a very quick overview of how the system engineering workflow can look like, model-based system engineering workflow can look like. But what is the challenge here, right? So once we think about the architecture of a system, usually we just pick up a paper napkin and start drawing some architecture on that, or we start drawing our thought process on the whiteboard, right? Or we can go a bit more sophisticated way. We can use PowerPoint, Excel, Visio, and these type of the tool to capture that architecture. But at the end of the day, this architecture has to go for the design environment or to go for the design phase. And that is where the challenge occurs, is that the architecture level concepts or the tools, methods are not linked with the design level tools, right? So moving from model-based system engineering to the model-based design is challenging. And that is what we are going to see, that how we can bridge the gap between the system engineering and the design phase of your development cycle, right? We are all aware of the V cycle. So I thought of explaining the concept in the V cycle method. So if you see, everything starts with the system of system requirement, which we usually capture in the form of a textual document. It can be Word, Excel, DOS, or whatever the document you are using or whatever the methods you are using. From there, we need to develop the system of system architecture. That can be a whiteboard design or a bit more sophisticated digital capturing of the architecture. Now the challenge is to connecting these architectures to the requirements. Allocation or association is an extremely important stage of any system engineering methods or the workflows. We have to ensure that the requirement, architecture, design, everything is connected with each other, associated with each other. Not only that, we don't want to design our architecture just as a pictorial representation. We have to ensure that we use that architecture for system of system analysis or trade studies so that we can understand what is the right architecture before moving to the design phase. But once you define the right architecture, you start designing your design requirements or developing your design requirements, which further you take for the development of the algorithms, which is nothing but the models. Let's assume that you are using Simulink and designing the algorithms inside the Simulink as a model-based design. Again, the same challenge, Simulink model need to be connected with the requirement and the design should be connected with your architecture. Why we are doing that? So that we can do the system of system verification. Instead of doing it as a field level testing, we should be able to do the system level simulation at the desktop level, right? So these are the few challenges in the model-based system engineering and model-based design connection that we have to address. Now let's see how we can do that quickly. So a very quick question, a lot of you might be aware of that, but why do 71% of embedded project fails? There was a study done back in 2005, and 71% of embedded project fails because of the poor requirement management. It's a first critical step that we have to ensure that we do right. If you have a wrong requirement, you can never build a right product. With that in mind, we'll see how we can manage the requirement better, right? So we are at the requirement management phase. Usually we develop the requirement in the textual form, as I mentioned, in the Word, DOS, or these type of the document, which is fine, right? But when you move from requirement to the design phase or the system engineering phase, there becomes the bit of the disconnect because these two are in the different world, right? So what I prefer is to bring the requirement into a design environment. So for me, I use Simulink requirements, right? Simulink requirement help me in importing the requirements. But more than that, whatever the tool do you use doesn't matter. You have a multiple type of requirement. For example, I have a vehicle level requirement. Then from that, I developed the battery management system requirement. And then from there, I developed a more detailed software requirements like for the state machines, right? All three requirements are there in the single environment. But more than that, the important part is the allocation between the requirements, right? For example, at the vehicle level requirement, I have a requirement for battery. From there, I drive the battery management system requirement. Now, these requirements or the line of the requirement should be connected with each other. This is what we call the allocation, requirement to requirement allocation. Why is it required? Because in case if my vehicle requirement is changed, I should be able to pinpoint what part of the battery management system or the state machine requirement need to be updated because my vehicle requirement is changed, right? And that is why we have to establish the allocation between requirement to the requirement. And then we maintain the requirement in the form of maintaining the version history, author details, etc., that you might be already aware as required for better artifact storage. But once we have the requirement ready, we start working on developing an architecture, right? So what is an architecture? Architecture is nothing at the very high level. What I'm showing here is the internal block diagram. There are multiple types of the diagrams available in the model-based system engineering. But if we look into the internal block diagram, an architecture is nothing but a combination of these boxes, right? Each box or component represent one component in the vehicle. At very high level, for my electric vehicle, I have vehicle as one component. Then I have ECUs, then I have driver, and I have environment. And these lines between these components indicate that how these components are interacting with each other. This is a very high level architecture to represent your thoughts. We can go deeper inside and can start designing the detail about the vehicle architecture. Like it will have engine, it will have battery. If it's an hybrid electric vehicle, it has engine, battery, motor, drivetrain, etc. Or if we are going for the ECU, we can start designing what all ECUs are there, how they are interacting with each other. We can go further detailed and start designing the architecture of the software level. For example, in battery management system, I'm defining in my software on my algorithm, I will have current power limit, state machine, SOC estimation, balancing logic, etc. So from the system level architecture, all the way till the software level architecture should be defined when you say that you are designing a vehicle architecture, right? What I'm doing here is that I'm using System Composer for capturing all these architectures because it is similar to Symlink and I can easily learn that. But for the people who are new to the concept of model-based system engineering, these boxes that I spoke about are called components. These gateways to the components are called ports. And these lines which are connecting one component to the other components are called connectors, right? These lines indicates that how the information is flown from one component to the other component. So what we did is that we defined a skeleton architecture for our vehicle. Now I can show it to the stakeholders, domain expert, and say, this is how my vehicle will look like. These are all components will be there, and this is how they will be interacting with each other, right? So that I can, all the stakeholder can understand what is my thought process, where is it going. But when we have the architecture developed for us, the next stage to ensure that we have the traceability between the architecture and the requirement. And that is where the benefit of bringing the requirements into the design environment help us. So if you can see the architecture that I developed on the top, at the bottom where you can see the blue bars, I have the requirement integrated in the same environment. Now I need to connect these requirements to these components so that if I click on a requirement, it takes me to the component, what component is developed for this requirement. And if I click on a component, it takes me to the requirement, what was there for this component to be developed. Now, what I did is that I established the traceability between requirement and the architecture. Now, in case if my requirement is changed, I will be able to highlight that which part of my architecture need to be updated because the requirement is changed, right? I can also see what is the status of the implementation of my requirement in the same environment. So what I did is that I addressed the problem of allocation between the architecture and the requirement. Now, the allocation is not only limited to just requirement to requirement and requirement to the architecture, right? When we work on architecture development, we have multiple types of requirement, like functional requirement, from which we develop a function architecture, which says what need to be done by the system. Then system requirement develop the logical architecture, which says who will perform that activity. And then you have hardware requirement, from which I develop the physical architecture and say where that particular logic is going to sit in. So all these arrows indicates a very critical relationship between all these artifacts throughout the development. And we have to ensure that through these arrows, we establish the allocation also. For example, I have shown requirement to requirement allocation, requirement to the architecture allocation. Similarly, we need to have the architecture to architecture allocation. I need to ensure that if I have the different architectures representing the same system in a different way, I have the allocation between the different components. And I should be able to visualize it. Again, the same purpose. I should know what component need to be changed if the system level requirement is changed, or any set in between, any artifact is updated, what will be the update in the other artifacts. And we can use these type of the allocations for doing more quantitative analysis on your system. Now, once we implemented those allocations, what we did is that we built an architecture, right? We built a skeleton. But that skeleton, those boxes and lines are not just are not the only thing that your architecture consists, right? The next stage of the architecture development is to define the interfaces. What do I mean by interfaces, right? In my architecture, I define that the plant will send some data to the ECUs or to the driver, right? So I define a port. What do I mean by that signal or that information? What goes in that information? I should be able to define the information on those interfaces. For example, this plant out, which is just a one port, actually consists of operational command, system level information, and inside the system level information, I have information related to engine, battery, electric motor, and drivetrain. If we go further inside the battery, I'm sending a data like battery voltage, battery current, battery power, SOC, etc. And I should be able to go all the way till the variable level information. For example, for battery voltage, I should be able to define what is the data type, minimum maximum capacity, unit, description, etc. Why am I doing this? Because at the end of the day, I need to pass these components to the design engineer. And the design engineer should be aware of what are the inputs and the outputs expected from that particular design, right? So I will provide this interface information along with the architecture and the requirement to the design engineer. But once we define these interfaces, the next stage, next extra information that we add on our architecture is the stereotype. So what do I mean by stereotype? So stereotype is an additional metadata that allow the system engineer to define domain-specific information, right? So our basic component that I spoke about, component, connectors, ports, interface, you can add extra properties on that. So what do I mean by those properties? For example, you're developing a battery management system, which is a software component. I should be able to define who is the owner, what is the SL level, what is the implementation language, review status, and last testing date, etc. All this information I should be able to define on this component. So when I'm looking at the architecture, instead of just having that as a combination of boxes and sticks, I will be able to have a more detail about those components. Similarly, if I have physical component, I should be able to define what is the part ID, who is the supplier, what is the weight, power consumption, cost, etc. Why we are defining this information? One part is so that we can add some extra information on the architecture. Plus, we can also use this information to do the trade study on our system. I will come to that and show how that can be done. As I was taking an example, I have a battery, which is a physical component. So I should be able to define some physical type properties, like who is the supplier, what is the cost, what is the weight, what is the battery capacity. These type of the information I should be able to define on that. While if I have a battery management system, which is a software component, I should be able to define the software specific properties on that. But the battery management system itself is an ECU. It's an hardware, physical component. So I should be able to also define the ECU or the physical properties on that particular component. All these properties I'm going to use to do the trade study on my system. A quick example I'm showing you here is that I'm doing a quick case study of a mass and cost roll-up. So for the architecture that I've defined, what I did is that I did a quick calculation that what will be the total cost and total weight of my vehicle, right? I can use this to analyze whether am I following the stakeholder need or not. If my cost is high, I can go to that particular component, which is high cost probably. I can analyze that, replace it with the different component, change these properties and rerun the analysis. This is the simplest analysis I'm showing to you, but you can add more complex physics-based analysis on your system, which can be done using the static properties of those components, right? So before even going for the high fidelity design development and doing the complete high fidelity simulation, you can do the system level static analysis at your architecture and understand, do you really need to go for the design level for this architecture, or you need to make the changes in the architecture itself, right? So this is the analysis that I can do using the stereotype properties. And so when I'm doing this, I'm actually using the powerful analysis engine. For example, in my case, I'm using MATLAB. So all these properties I pass to the MATLAB, implement my analysis logic, whatever the logic is, inside the MATLAB as a script, and ask MATLAB to automatically do the trade study on my system. Now, once we ensure that our architecture is correct, next phase of the cycle is to share it across the stakeholders. So what do I mean by share it across the stakeholders? Right, so for example, I developed the architecture, which looks very simple like this at the top. But if I look into the detailed architecture for whatever I develop, it can be as complex as this. Now, I want to share this architecture with, for example, a mechanical engineer who is looking into the physical components, or an ECU team who is looking into the ECU architecture only. Will this whole sharing this whole system will make sense for them? It make it over complex because it is having so many components which are not relevant for them. So I should be able to create the views of those architecture. For example, I'm just showing the view that only the ECU components which are available inside my architecture. Or I can have a different representation of the whole architecture. For example, here I'm showing the functional composition of my ECUs. So whatever the way your stakeholders or your teams are convenient in looking into the architecture, the same type of the view can be created for the architecture. Now comes the important part of our discussion. Once all these things are fine, I provided this ECU component to the ECU design team. I provided the physical component to the physical modeling team. How we can connect those designs which we developed in Simlink back at the architecture level, right? So that is where we connect our model-based system engineering with model-based design. If we have ECUs, we can define the ECU control strategy inside the Simlink and link it back to the component in the architecture. Similarly, if we have physical component, here I have a battery model. I can connect it back to the architecture where the battery component is available. So it is simple. So if you have already existing models or not, you can create, for example, a state chart. In case if you're having a more logical representation, state chart behavior or the Simlink behavior can be created right from the architecture level, should be connected with the architecture. That's an important part of this allocation part. And the interface information that we define at the architecture level should be automatically passed to the design level. So there is no mismatch in the interfaces when you come and try to connect everything together at the architecture level. But once you have the algorithms or the design integrated with the architecture, what left is just to simulate the whole architecture. Now, what am I doing here? If I click on this Run Simulate button, what I'm doing is that I'm simulating the whole system together, which is having a plant, ECUs, driver, and environment. everything together working, and then I can analyze how will my system behave in the real world, right? It is no more just a static analysis. I'm doing a high fidelity dynamic simulation of my system and then seeing the whole system behavior there. So this is where I use the power of simulation to analyze my architecture. So from static analysis of the trade study all the way till the detailed dynamic simulation I can perform there. Same activities what I did at the system level can be performed at the software level, software architecture level. For example, if you are just working on one architecture, software architecture, you can do that activity whether you are following the AUTOSAR compliant or non-AUTOSAR compliant, the workflow will remain same. So what we have seen is that how we can connect the different phases, how we can implement the different phases of model-based system engineering and connect everything together with a digital thread. This is something which is not a new concept. The industry has already adopted it. For example, GM has a good talk how they did that. Mercedes-Benz in India implemented this workflow, and Bosch I already spoke about. If we go to the other industry, there's a good white paper from the Gulf Stream that how they implemented model-based system engineering and model-based design together. There are a few more other learning resources available which you can go through to learn more about the concept that I spoke about. I'm not sure if I have the time. I'm 3 minutes over the time now. But if you have any question, either if Kruti can read out for me, or what you can do, you can write it to me or connect it over the LinkedIn. I will be happy to work with you on this.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Gaurav. Actually, I believe many of us were able to relate to this topic. So we literally have a lot of questions for you. So how do we do, Vijay? Shall we take some?
Yeah, maybe we can take few questions. Yeah.
Okay. So there's one recurring question. So which is requirement management same as requirement engineering?
Good question. So requirement engineering is a vast topic, right? It talks about the authoring of the requirement and analysis of the requirement along with that. Requirement management is a critical part of implementing a right requirement engineering, right? It talks about how the requirements are managed, how the requirements are connected with each other, and how the analysis can be done. But requirement engineering talks about way more than just the management of the requirements. I mean, it's a vast topic. I will be happy to connect with you if you can, just drop me a mail. I will be happy to talk.
Okay, yeah, I guess we can also connect with you via LinkedIn probably, right, Gaurav? Or we can drop you an email as well. Okay.
That would be good. Thank you.
Okay, maybe I'll take one another question. Okay, there are many, so it is challenging for me now. Okay, is there a difference between system engineering and systems engineering? So there is an S towards the end for the system.
Okay, if it is pointing to some typo that I did in this slide, then I'm sorry for that. But for me, the systems engineering or system engineering is all same. What we have as a different topic or the wider topic than that is that the system of systems, right? Where you can say systems engineering, maybe just as a terminology, where the multiple systems are connected with each other, not just one system. So that is an SOS, system of system.
Okay, yeah. Okay, then maybe for the other questions, we can take them offline or yeah, maybe they can contact you directly via email. Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. And
Thank you, Kriti.
yes, Vijay, over to you. Yeah, final words and vote of thanks from you. And let's close this tech day. Yeah, and tech
Yeah,
Manoranjan
good.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Gaurav, and for the wonderful presentation. Good morning to all. Yeah, it's an honor for me to say a few words in the Tech Day. So I would thank on behalf of Bosch India, complete SAE India team to organize this event, specifically SAE India and also SAE Bangalore chapter for giving this opportunity and bringing the two wonderful speakers today. Yeah, to explain some of the technical aspects, and of course, what are the benefits of SAE membership. Yeah, it's a wonderful. So my special thanks to Damodaran, SAE Bangalore Chapter Chairman, and Venkatraj, Deputy Director General of SAE India, for giving the motivational speech, and also about SAE and SAE membership. Thank you very much for the same.
Thank you,
And
Vijay. It's an honor and privilege for us as well to learn a lot about Bosch. I was quite excited with the enthusiasm and the participation.
Thank you. It's a honor for also to bring a lot of speakers and explain about SAE. Yeah, thank you. I extend my gratitude to Mr. Shanai and Mr. Jacob Peter and Mr. Vadiraj, and also the complete RBI management and associates, okay, for supporting this event, and also many more SAE initiatives. Yeah, I remember from 2008 onwards, Bosch is associated, and I think we have to pick up now and increase our engagement with SAE further. Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Jacob, Mr. Janai, and Mr. Vadiraj for the encouraging words, and also our Bosch focus areas: safety, comfort, and sustainability. Thank you very much. And my special gratitude to Dr. Ravi Kumar for explaining SAE standards development process, and how can we contribute as a professional to the SAE standards. Yeah, it's a wonderful session, sir. Thank you very much. I also extend my gratitude to Dr. Gaurav for a deep dive on model-based system engineering. Okay, even though the time is limited, okay, he has explained it very well. Yeah, thank you very much. We will get connected.
Thank you.
And of course, if you could share the slides, we can also share it with our people, and also we'll get back to you. If needed, we can ask for a special session, yeah, from our side. Sure. And I must also thank SAE organizing team to making it this event grand success, specifically Vijay, Ilango, Girish, and Rakesh, and also the lot of volunteers. Okay, so working hard last few days, few weeks, I would say. Okay, to start the posters, even the speakers, finalization date, time, okay, and the WebEx sessions, okay, tryout we have done. So it's a really wonderful arrangement. Thank you very much for all of you. And my special thanks to MC Kriti, yeah, to make this event live and also vibrant. Yeah, thank you very much. Without telling thank you, special thank you to Wu and also the GL's office, okay, and also the communication and marketing team of Bosch. I cannot conclude the speech. So they have done a wonderful work of making this event a grand success and communicate to the almost all the Bosch associates, yeah, frequently, and make it happen. So this is just a beginning, and we look forward the active participation of all the Bosch associates, and we will get the slides and we will share it with you. And one request is all of you please visit your visit the SAE India website frequently. We can see a lot of webinars and PDBs, okay, and even new conferences coming up. So you can also be part of it. Thank you very much. Though it's a Friday, yeah, so there's going to be a food for thought, I would say. Yeah. Thank you very much, Kruti.
Yes.
And thank
Thank
you
you.
all the participants for your active participation. I can see a lot of messages coming in and a lot of inputs. We will try to get the answers, and we can also post it maybe in our Bosch Connect website. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, then let's formally end the meeting and thanks everyone for joining. We had really an enthusiastic audience, I must say. Huge round of applause to audience, presenters, RGLs, everyone. And thank you, Vijay, for this opportunity, for becoming an MC for such a tech event. So I also got to learn a lot of things. I took some notes as well for me. So thank you. Thank you so much. And see you again soon.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Kriti.
And
Bye.
Thank you,
in
Vijay.
case,
Thank you, everyone. Good
thank
day.
you, Damu. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
And in
everyone.
case,
Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you. In case you have any questions on membership, I think SAE team is available. Okay, you have, you know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining.
So Vijay, can we formally end the webinar?
We can end the webinar. Okay, so in case they have any questions, they can connect with me or
Yeah.
SAE India directly also. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Have a
Thanks
nice day, nice
everyone.
weekend to all of you. Bye.
Happy weekend. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.